Franchise Fitness Business Secrets. I am Forrest Walden, your host, founder and CEO of Iron Tribe. And today I'm excited to have my business coach on the call with me today, Cullen Talley. Cullen, welcome to the call.
Good morning. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So Cullen and I go back, even before he was my coach. We met at Wake Up Warrior, where we both have done many things over the years with Garrett White. You've actually worked there, has sort of been a member there. That's how we met, but more recently have brought you on to be a coach. So talk a little bit about your background and how you got to coaching guys like me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of grew up in the payment space and got interested in innovation in and around payments technologies as that was really starting to evolve. And I got connected to a group of investors that were investing in these technologies they were coming to market. And I watched them really plan out the life cycle of the business from the very beginning, right? And so there was and I spent 15 years with them. We were fortunate to have a lot of success. We also got kicked in the teeth every once in a while as well. But I started to understand how to build value, how to build stability in teams, how to transfer leadership across teams. And in my last role, as you referenced, wound up going and working with Garrett and Danielle White for a bit in their businesses, both the Wake Up Warrior business as well as the DKW styling businesses. And they really needed some structure. And I'm really good at that, but there was none there. And so I got introduced to this idea of a business operating system or a way of executing. We implemented it. I saw amazing results across our business. We made really hard decisions. We translated it really well inside the business, but most of all, we created results and did a better job. And so in that, a spark was kind of born in me. You know, I know obviously, Forrest, I know you're deeply connected spiritually. So I kept getting kind of a message from God, are you going to build this for somebody else again? And it became clear it was time for me to step out on my own. I founded Exit Momentum, and then we do this work with clients all over the country that are interested in growing and really taking great care of their teams.
Awesome. And so you are in Baton Rouge.
I
You're
am.
a family man. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I am married to Lauren for 22 years, and we are parents of three girls, Sammy, Marky, and Riley Reed. Our girls are all young adults. My youngest is now at Clemson doing that deal and enjoying life, and as of 2 weeks ago, we became grandparents. I know I look way too young to be a grandparent. Just tell me that, but we are, in fact, grandparents as of actually 3 weeks ago yesterday. So
That's awesome. Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you, man.
I hear that's like the pinnacle.
Yes, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so you may not know this. I can't remember if I told you this or not, but I was actually on a breakout group in one of my Warrior sessions, and Garrett wasn't even on the call. It was just me and four other guys, and we were talking about things, and one of the guys was just raving about how you had come in and really helped his business and helped him streamline and helped him think, strategically. And
Yeah.
I knew you at that point. I knew what you did, but sometimes it takes hearing it from someone else. It's so often the case. And I thought, man, I need to give Cullen a call. So it was very strategic for us because we were in the middle of a reboot. We had just kind of gone through COVID. We were pivoting our brand, getting ready to really hit franchising gas again hard. And I needed some perspective. And so talk about getting that call from me and then coming in and just kind of what you saw with what we've built and how you've been able to see us over the last 2 years now take your coaching and guidance and implement what you bring to the table.
Yeah, so first off, I feel incredibly fortunate when I get those calls. One, because it means we're doing something right and we're getting results in the market, and people know we actually really care about them as people, as in addition to the business, right? So to get that call from you, knowing how much work you had done on yourself personally, knowing the things you do in your community and stuff like that, knowing the success Iron Tribe has had, it raised the bar for me. And fortunately, that's a lot of the conversations we get to have. So it challenged me when I get the call, like, okay, now what have I got to deliver to Forrest and Karen and the amazing team at Iron Tribe through the corporate-owned stores as well as all the franchisees, and how do we do this well? So my brain started to turn, but I could also see there was a little bit of confusion, a little lack of clarity for sure. You guys are executing well and stuff like that, but even you saying really, firing up the franchise. In that first meeting, that wasn't super clear. You were wanting to be there, but there was a heaviness based on some of the other things that you had dealt with. So in that first meeting, it really was challenging you, Karen, and Kyle to see where you guys were aligned and where you weren't aligned, right? And, as Kyle shared at the you guys event, a little punch in the face on those, and that's some of what we do. Obviously, you guys know that as coaches in the fitness industry, helping a client see things differently, kind of shaking up their world a little bit. And so we stepped into that. The good news I knew with you all is that you were coachable. And we really look for that with our prospects. We want to see somebody who's willing to follow a process, right? Willing to trust that and move through it. They can ask questions, they can challenge, but they need to do it. But I saw you guys click into gear very quickly. It was clearly you were aligned as people, but on the business front, there was still some gaps between you and Karen, between you and Kyle and Karen. So getting you guys clear, because until that happens, we can't translate it to the rest of the team. But once that happens and it comes together, and it happened quickly, right? It happened quickly with you guys because you had the fundamentals. It was just putting those fundamentals into the right spot, so we could channel that energy, channel that focus, channel that effort that you guys were already doing. And really, truly, Forrest, for me, what I saw was you guys got clear what you were going to say yes to, what you were going to say no to, and what you might say not right now to, which are really three distinct buckets that a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business owners really struggle with, especially early, because they're chasing the revenue to survive. And so they have to say yes to more. But as we build something with real value, like you guys had done, now we've got to be strategic about where we put our resources, because last time I checked, you do not have unlimited resources as far as people and money, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so it's interesting, even in that first conversation, I'm like, Cullen, man, we've done all this work. We've done core values. We're crystal clear on what our purpose is, But even though we had done all that work, and you said, admittedly, some of it was easier than normal because a lot of that work was done, we still needed that crystal clear coaching about, okay, choose what direction you're going. And you said it best. I mean, I think of Jim Collins and Good to Great. Most successful companies, they have too much opportunity, right? And so that hedgehog approach of what are you going to go after? What are your marks? What are those 3 years? What are those 10 years? It's interesting when you start asking me those questions, I wasn't as clear and then when I would hear Kyle and Karen on our leadership team, there was a little bit of division, and you helped bring that synergy to us.
And that's really a healthy sign, right? I think sometimes people think that's actually why you have a leadership team, right? If you didn't want that division and that challenge and that healthy conflict that we talk about all the time, then why have a leadership team? Just be a king sitting on top of the mountain telling everybody what to do. I mean, and that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for that, what I love to talk about, that council of wisdom that happens around the table over time. But people have to be able to speak across the business. And that's one of the things we look at. And I was looking for from you guys, and challenging you to understand, okay, I got to not just be great in the marketing piece or the sales piece. I got to understand marketing, sales, tech, product, finance. If you're going to be on a leadership team, I don't have to be an expert, but I need to have enough awareness to be able to speak to some of that. And you're right, you guys had done a lot of that work, but it was interesting starting to pressure test, what do you really want, right? Like, what do you actually want? Because I know you, and I know your team, and I know your heart, you want a balanced life. You want to be able to contribute, in many, many ways through the nonprofits you're connected to, through your church, everything else. Well, if business eats up all of that, then you lose. And so how do we build a great business taking into account these other things? And I remember at one point we were talking about you guys, 10-year target and your 3-year picture. And there's some things you were wanting, and Karen's like, I don't think you understand how much work that is, Forrest. And you're like, well, what do you mean? And so it was just great to see you guys start to get clear. If we're going to do this, if we're going to be here in 10 years, here's where we got to be in 3. Here's where we got to be in 1. Here's where we got to be in June. And so just that pressure test that happened. And that was the piece that I felt like you guys really, really needed at that time, because of you've got these different channels that you can be working on with the way you're set up as an owner, as a franchisee, as a franchisor. Like you kind of are all those things. And with all this opportunity, especially in the fitness space, there's so many directions you can go. It was about getting clear about what are we going to be great at, to your point, hedgehog concept, and where are we going, and what does that mean now as it relates to our people, our team, our skills, our habits, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, all great stuff, but I actually want to take 2 steps backwards before I go to where I want to go. I just want to make sure anyone who's watching this is kind of crystal clear of what you do, kind of the buckets of how you go in when you work with a company. What is exit momentum? What do they bring to the table? How do you exist? Yeah,
great. Thank you. So the first thing we bring is, people say it all the time, we laugh, clarity. That our teams get so much clearer. We've gone back and looked at our session notes across hundreds of sessions now. And the primary thing we hear at the end of day 1, literally 8 hours into this process, I'm so much clearer than I was when I started this morning. It's not that everything's fixed. and I have a system of accountability, a system to execute. So what I say is we start on day one with execution, accountability, and drive into some level of clarity, right? So that's just some good basic habits. If I step into your world, it's like, am I doing these exercises correctly, the movement, slowing down and saying, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Is my head in the right spot? Am I doing the right things with my hips? Where am I standing? Really paying attention to some of the smaller details. So that's where we start. In day two in our world, we really start to get into the vision. And for a lot of folks, they have a vision, but it hasn't been recorded. You guys had done some great work there, but we needed to pressure test, is this really it? Or is this Forrest's stuff that he likes? Or sometimes is it out of date? We did it 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Is that still true? Mm-hmm. And so we work through the things, like values and purpose and BHAG, ideal clients, like who should we be doing business with? What are our brand promises? What are we going to promise to the market? And how do we do that with our proven process? And then on day three in our world, it doesn't always have to be in days, regardless, it's about an executable plan. The key thing there is, yes, about making commitments, but it's also about being able to share that with the rest of the organization. Here is where we're going in a way that I believe is digestible. Oftentimes we see a lot of teams where they over communicate and it's not delivered in a format that the rest of the team can understand. They haven't been part of these long meetings, and so you need to be able to deliver it that way. So we get clear about what your vision is, what your strategy is, what your plan is, and then implement a system for execution and accountability. And that is so we can win, not so we can catch people and make them bad or wrong. Now, if people can't perform, they cannot stay at the organization. But we're going to help them, we're going to love on them, we're going to coach them, we're going to guide them. But we want a system there so we know what great looks like in the business. And so that's what we do. There's a particular way that we do that, but at a high level, does that give you what you're looking for?
That's exactly what I'm looking for. But then I want to tie it back to your name. Because I'm assuming if you do all of those things right, you build a reproducible, scalable, saleable business, right?
Correct.
Does that come back to
Exit
Momentum?
Yeah, so Exit Momentum has a couple of meanings. Originally, just because I had been in that investment world with private investors, we, invested money, time, energy, and effort, and did plan to exit. Either exit, sell it, or exit it's operating on its own, and we can step out of it, and we've got great operators running it, right? So that's certainly the case for some of our clients. They're either raising capital, looking for a true exit. A lot of times maybe succession planning. So we see a lot of transition from one generation to the next because so many small to medium-sized businesses are family-based. But the other area where this comes into play, let's say you're not interested in selling at all. My question is, really, who do you have to become, kind of this exit velocity to get to that next level of your business, right? I like thinking about it in terms of these spacecraft that take off, right? When you watch them take off, it takes so much energy to get off the ground, and they've got to go through the friction, the heat to get through the atmosphere to finally get into orbit. So if you're just a business owner or somebody looking at that, the idea of how much energy would I need to get to this next level so I don't feel like I'm stuck in the business? So sale, yes. Succession, yes. Cap raise, yes, but also I love my business, but I feel like I'm stuck at this level and I'm needing to break through. What's it going to take for me to have enough exit velocity and enough momentum to get to the next level as an owner and as a leader in business?
Okay, perfect. And that's the segue I was looking for, because for me, I was not looking necessarily to come in and how do I sell this business.
Right.
I wanted to grow personally. We've gone from 5 corporate stores to 9 since we've been working with you.
Right.
We've got the franchise ball rolling, sales are coming in, all that. But at the end of the day, I said, Cullen, what I really want is I want to be able to take all this work and hand it off to my franchisees.
Correct.
So they don't have to do that work from ground level to getting out of the atmosphere. Yeah. They can experience the top. And so you were able to come into our franchise conference recently and share a lot of the work that we've done. So now someone aligned with us, we can help get them further, faster without all the pain because we've done a lot of the hard work.
Forrest, it's tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in value, and probably at a minimum 6 to as much as 18 months of that they're sped up, right? So it's almost like going into a video game and starting at level 3. Like you don't even have to do level 1. Now you need to learn it, you need to understand it, the work that you've done, and that's why I wanted to stress to your team and to the franchisees and even some of the prospects that were there. Listen, this seems like it's simple. I am telling you, we spend months and sometimes years getting this clear and spend tens of thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands when we look at some of the mistakes that are made when this work hasn't been done. So it's so important to me for you and the people that see this and consume this content to recognize the work that's been done has so much value. You won't see it at first, but you're going to have to trust me, having done this, across 100 companies across the country in all industries, from 1 million to well over 100 million in revenue, that this has massive value. Don't run past the work that Forrest and the team with Karen and Kyle and the rest of the leadership team have done, and all the other great folks inside of Iron Tribe.
Well, and that alone was worth the price of admission for me to have you there, because sometimes it's true. You hand these plans down, you hand what you've been working on, and it can be really easy just to read it one time, like, oh yeah, that sounds good, but they have no idea of those hours in that room and those questions and the heaviness we felt trying to establish a BHAG.
Yeah, and what I would say too, Forrest, is the pain of mistakes. I deal with a lot of clients where we have to clean up a little bit of stuff for them because they've made some bad hires. They've made some bad financial decisions. They're living with some scars from that. They haven't kept their word with their family about when they were going to be able to be home. And like they can't really take a vacation because they're not really able to disconnect from the business. And so there's truly, pain and discomfort of it, a little bit of an integrity check for a lot of our folks, again, because of how hard this can be. So again, there's so much value in this work. If you get a chance to interact with it, use it, do not run past it. Breathe it in, consume it, understand how it's created with the team, because I'm telling you, this is what people come to us who have very large businesses that care a lot about their teams. When I really peel back the onion and we finish talking about revenue and profit and this kind of stuff, and we get kind of the heart and why they started the business and the thing that they feel the worst about, it's that they haven't set themselves up and they haven't set their team up to be in this place and have these tools readily available.
All right, so there's two moments from TribeCon I want to touch on. One, when Kyle got up to speak, one of the first things he said was he referenced you and how you've really pushed him in his role. And he's like, yeah, Cullen, I didn't really like you very much at first. And then you shouted back from the feeling was mutual, because there was a bit of clashing there, right? So just talk about that tension a little bit.
Yeah, so I feel like it's absolutely necessary. One of the things that drives me crazy in my business is that there are people that claim to be business coaches or consultants or implementers or whatever they want to call themselves that are unwilling to have tough conversations. And if you're going to step into a relationship with me or with us or with anybody, quite frankly, to try to help you grow, there needs to be tough conversations. I mean, think back in my life, the teachers, the coaches, the pastors, the parents, the grandparents, those tougher conversations are actually the ones I remember more. So I feel called to do that. Sometimes I get this, what I call a God nudge, and I'm like, are you sure? And like, do I really have to go after this, sweet 60-something-year-old lady who seems like, and the answer is yes. And so we just push through. So to me, it's part of the secret sauce of what we do beyond kind of the mechanics of it, but it's absolutely necessary. And if you don't have somebody in your business that's stretching you that way, then that doesn't work. And Forrest, that was one of the things you and I had to figure out, right? Because we had this personal relationship, we knew each other, but when I step into the room and I put the coach hat on, that's a different thing. When we step back out of the room, great, but we're in the room, and so it's absolutely necessary and something that anybody who's doing any kind of work like this should be looking for. And somebody's going to. Lots of people can facilitate. The question is, can somebody move you from point A to point B?
And I think Kyle's such a great example because he's our product guy.
Right.
So a lot of people landing on this page or who following us may be here because they love fitness.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about fitness. And they think my passion for fitness means I'm automatically going to have a great business. And what you were pushing back on Kyle was, hey, man, I respect that you love the product, but you're on the leadership team, big boy. And I know you're not used to answering these type of questions because you were asking revenue questions, and he was getting flustered because he's used to having the right answer. And so it's really helped him understand that, yes, I own the product, but I'm also on the team, and I've got to help Karen and Forrest think big picture. So I think that was really good for us, and it even actually helped him establish his annual priority for the year, which was to think like the product director of a $100 million business, right? It's like, I'm just thinking too small.
Right.
So that was huge for us. The second thing I wanted to talk about was that I found very comical is one of my top franchisees, I'm sure will be on the show at some point, has 5, soon to be 7 in Nashville. And he kind of stopped you at the end, was asking, hey, I want to work with you. What will it take to work with you? And what was your response to that? I mean, here's a teed up customer for you. What was your response?
You can't and you don't need to. The work's been done. The work has been done. So like why the system is already in place in Iron Tribe. Just follow the system that's in place. You would be wasting money to do that with us it doesn't make any sense. Iron Tribe has done the work and lives it. And so all you need to do is follow that example and you'll get the result.
And what's great about that is actually Karen's going up next week to sit in on his offsite and basically take what we've learned from you and get to play your role a little bit. So she's pumped about it, and he's pumped to have her there. But he's able to take everything that's there and execute it, and all of our franchisees.
Yeah, and it's built in. It's like, why do you need the additional expense? And to me, it's like, I worry about you getting misaligned. It's not that your owners and leaders shouldn't have their own personality and their own spirit inside their locations, but at the same time, why do you need to go? This is proven. Like, we can look at the results, we can look at the change in the clients, we can look at the change in your coaches, we can look at the change in locations that you've taken over. It's proven. So we don't need to go reinvent the wheel. Let's use what's worked and what you guys have proven. And again, I love the fact that, because we say this, you're not speaking from theory, right? You didn't hire me and have me do that. You're doing it in your locations. And so that was critical. And back to your previous comment on the thing with Kyle and the product, we see so many people who love a particular thing, fitness, construction, whatever, who love that thing and think they're going to be good in business. And the thing that takes them down and runs them out of business is the fact that they're so narrowly focused there. They don't understand the rest of the business, or they're miserable because they have to do all the other stuff and they don't get to do the thing they actually love to do. So this is a critical point as people think about what's next for them in their business life.
Vintage E-Myth, right there.
There you go. There you go.
My favorite books of all time. Okay. So, if I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit,
okay.
Someone watching this, maybe they've known of us, they're considering potentially, why would I align with a brand like Iron Tribe? You have been able to work with us. You also live in a market where we have two really successful gyms and a great operator.
Yeah, Hayden's doing awesome.
From your outside looking in, but actually inside looking in now, what would your feedback be on why someone might consider our brand?
I mean, I think it goes back to a couple of things. One, I'm always looking in my life for what is a proven system. I don't need it to be like completely rock solid, been around 100 years, but has somebody executed this more than once, and have they proven something can work, right? So that's we can see that across the location of Iron Tribe. So that's the first piece. Second piece is, do I want to partner with these kinds of people, right? So do I feel like I connect with them from a value standpoint, from how I see the world standpoint, and and I think that's so critical for them to be able to do that. And third is the ongoing support. So it's one thing to have done it, right, and do it yourself. It's another thing to connect with them personally. But then what does it look like for me to continue to evolve? Because the truth is, you're going to start here, and we're going to need to level you up as you go. You're not going to be able to operate at this level right away, and there's got to be a support structure in there. And so many people in the franchise world don't spend time on number 3. They've got a proven system. They kind of throw you the binder, say, here you go, and we deal with it all the time, right? And there's some operational stuff, and there's some things you have to do branding-wise, but as it relates to growing as a leader, growing the business, how to move from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. And that's the thing to me when I look at Iron Tribe and what you're doing and the level of clarity of systems, processes, and everything else, what you've proven, who you are as a set of people, actually genuinely caring about making a difference in the communities, and then, with humility. And then that third piece, that you are building a system of ascension for your leaders and for the coaches, quite frankly, which is one of the things I talk about all the time in your world, that you guys have worked your way through. How do we turn this into a career for people versus this revolving door, which I think is a secret sauce for thing. And I think it's shifted, your entire perspective. And it certainly helps me think differently when I talk about you and how you're different than other people in your industry.
And that really came out with the most recent exercise you took us through, which was the flywheel exercise. Yep. And that was so cool to have that epiphany is, oh my gosh, our entire flywheel starts and ends with developing careers in the fitness world.
Right. Right. Okay. I'm telling you, this is so big. I've told companies 20 times your size about that story, and they're challenged by how clear you are about that, and the way you're unwilling to accept what the norm is in your industry. You're like, we do not accept that as truth. We are going to change how people think about that, and we're going to execute against that. And just you guys should know that what you have done and the certainty you've had around that has shifted other companies and other industries just from me telling that story.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So we get to hear stories of other companies when you're here. So
that's right.
I'm glad to know that we gets paid forward. Okay, so there's one person who may be considering Iron Tribe. There's probably another person who's just following the content because it's good content.
Yeah.
And they may think, well, maybe I need a guy like Cullen. How would someone know if they're a prospect for your business?
Yeah, so we typically work with entrepreneurial leadership teams. So if you're a startup, that's not really where we work. There's plenty of content out there, and we've got a document on the website. You can kind of help to kind of walk you through some of that. We're happy to make some book recommendations to help you kind of get going. Typically, we need to see an organization that's usually at least $1 million in revenue, typically at least 10 employees, up to as much as 100 million. And so there's some level of complexity that's crept in a good way. Like for us, what we figured out is we're great at working with teams that are dealing with what we call unruly, unmanageable, chaotic growth. It's growth, but it's growth with some challenges, right? And so those are the people that seem to work well with us. They do need to be coached from that standpoint. Any industry really doesn't matter. We've actually even worked with some nonprofits, some churches and so forth too, because they have to execute also, right? If they're going to do great work in the community. So the systems work from that standpoint. So with us, it's a matter of certainly they can find us at exitmomentum.com, book a call, and we're happy to spend some time with them. There's no charge for that to see if there's a fit. But that's kind of the range that we're usually looking for as far as at least that level of success to get them up and moving from there.
Well, Cullen, this has been awesome. Exactly what I wanted to share today. Just everybody needs a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. I don't matter what level you're at. You need a coach. I needed a coach. You are my coach when it comes to business. But also, if you don't want to go in and do all that stuff and build it and do all the hard work and just hit the ground running with a system that's been proven, that's what we bring to the table. So thank you for being on today. I know you're a busy man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Cullen. See ya.
See you, man.